Mr. President.
New Hampshire.
Mr. President, I've come to the floor to join my colleagues because I also believe we should keep guns out of the hands of terrorists. Now, I don't think that applies to law-abiding citizens, but I think it does apply to terrorists. I've been a strong supporter of the Second Amendment. In New Hampshire, we have a rich tradition of safe and legal firearm ownership. We have a rich tradition of hunting and sportsmen's activities. But like most Granite Staters, I also support pragmatic and simple ways to keep guns out of the hands of dangerous people who would threaten this country while also protecting the rights of law-abiding citizens. That's what we're discussing here today. We have put forward common-sense legislation that adheres to a pretty simple principle. If you're not allowed on a plane because you're on a no-fly list, because you're suspected of threatening the country, then you should not be allowed to buy a gun. And I want to repeat what Senator Schumer said, because I think people don't think that this is real. They think, oh, well, if you're on the no-fly list, you're not going to be able to buy a gun. But according to the Government Accountability Office, between 2004 and 2014, suspected terrorists attempted to purchase guns from American dealers at least 2,233 times that we know of. And in 2,043 of those cases, 2,043, 91% of the time, those suspected terrorists succeeded. That is just unacceptable, and it's time we close the loophole that allows suspected terrorists to purchase guns. After the horrific tragedy last week in San Bernardino that was carried out by radicalized individuals, it's clear that we need to be doing more to prevent violent attacks inspired by ISIS here at home. Closing this loophole in our gun laws is a common sense thing that we can do today. Now, I've heard concerns that the legislation that we have proposed doesn't allow for adequate due process for those on the list, but that is just not correct. The Department of Homeland Security has a process in place for removing your name from the no-fly list. As Einstein, the author of the legislation, has noted, the FBI office that handles the firearm background check system must provide a reason for a denial upon request. Individuals who are listed then have a right to correct any inaccurate records in the background check system. So there is a process in place if people are wrongfully on that no-fly list to be able to remove their names. So I would just ask those who oppose this bill, if the no-fly list is not good enough for keeping guns out of the hands of terrorists, why is it worthwhile for protecting commercial airline flights from terrorists? The reasoning is just inconsistent. It's time to come together in the interest of national security to pass this bill closing the terror loophole in our nation's gun laws. Thank you, Mr. President.